actually is famously known for Joseph and the Coat of Many Colors. And this is not many colors, it is 2 colors, but it's striped. So it went with our theme, and I thought it would be cool. So here I am killing it. So, so anyways, but the main thing that everybody remembers is Joseph and the Coat of Many Colors. So a lot of his story falls through the cracks because everybody's focused on that one part of his story. So where's my 2 people at that's never heard this story? So in the Bible, there's a guy named Joseph. Let's try that again. There's a guy named Joseph. All right. So he is his dad's favorite. How many of you have more than one sibling? How many of you know who the favorite is?
Oh, it's me. Hello.
So some of you are the favorite. Whoa. All right. Some of you are the favorite, and some of you definitely are not, and you know who the favorite is, and you could list off 30 reasons right now why they should not be the favorite. Okay? But that Lily's like, I could. Let me pull out my list and just run it through. So, but Joseph was his parents' favorite, and he was also the baby, so that probably had a little bit to do with it. But his brothers, he had 10 older brothers. Hopefully nobody in here has that many siblings. Jonah, but he had 10 older brothers who hated him. They were so mad because his dad went easy on him, and they had to work all the time, and Joseph just had it super easy. And and he was the baby. So anyways, a lot of people focus on he's the favorite and his dad gave him this awesome coat. His brothers were jealous, so they threw him in a pit. And the pit was obviously too deep to crawl out of, or he would have done that. So they're out in the middle of nowhere in the desert, and they're like, yo, we don't like you, and we want to get rid of you, so we're going to throw you in this pit, and then you're going to get sold into slavery. So that's what happened. They threw him in this pit. The very oldest brother had planned to come back and rescue him, but when he went back, he was already gone. Somebody had came and bought him. So that's a pretty rough start, right? Like, his brothers hated him. Yeah, sure, he got his dad's favoritism, but is it really worth your 10 older brothers hating you? Probably not. So, because brothers are mean, and if they were older, then they were bigger and wiser and meaner, okay? So they obviously threw him in a ditch or a pit or whatever I said earlier. And then he was sold into slavery. So this is kind of where God comes in and starts working in Joseph's favor. He was sold to Pharaoh there at this massive palace. We're going to go with palace. Is that what the Bible says? Palace? Castle? Probably not castle. We're going to go with palace. So who knows what a palace is? All right. So he gets sold as a slave in this palace. Well, he finds favor in, we're going to say king, because, you know, if you've never heard the story, then we're going to just go with king. But it was Pharaoh. So he was the king, and he was the top dog, and he really liked Joseph. So he gave Joseph awesome responsibilities. So this whole time, Joseph is dreaming about crazy things. This whole time. Like, from when he was born, that's why he was his dad's favorite. Like, he just had these awesome dreams that God was giving him. Who in here loves to dream? Who's a big dreamer? You got big plans for your life? You're a dreamer? Anybody? So, from all the way back when he was a little boy and his brothers were picking on him, all the way to when he got thrown in the pit, all the way to being sold into slavery. And what am I getting? No. Okay. And so now he's in the castle or palace, whatever you want to call it, and they find favor, they all like him, so he's getting blessed. Even though he's already been trashed, he's already been bullied, he's already been thrown in this darkest pit, he's already been sold away from his family. God still is finding favor in his life. So it's so easy to, okay, let me pull my notes out. It's so easy to lose sight of what God is doing for us when we're going through a hard time, when we're being bullied in school, or when we feel like our family and our friends are just kicking us to the curb or throwing us in a pit. It's so hard to see God in that, right? How many, you don't have to raise your hand if you don't want to, but how many have ever been bullied? It's pretty bad. You feel like it's the end of the world for you because it hurts really bad. So, and sometimes your best friends bully you, but in his case, it was family. So, he's being bullied. He can't see the light. Like, he's like, Lord, where are you at? They threw me in a ditch, a pit. Why do I keep saying ditch? They threw him in a pit. He's the lowest of all low. And then he's like, oh, somebody's going to pull me out. And then, so he puts his little trust in the little rope, and he's climbing the rope. And then guess what? Nope, no luck. He's being sold into slavery. So we get to the castle, and things start to turn around for him. And they find favor, and they're looking good. He's looking good. He's got awesome responsibilities. And I was going to say duties, but we won't go there. So he's got big responsibilities, and it's looking good. Well, then all of a sudden, the big dog's wife is like, hey, man, what's up? Like, come to my room, and I'll show you a good time. Okay? That's what she said. This is a drop-dead gorgeous. So picture in your mind right now the most beautiful person you've ever seen. Right now. Close your eyes. Boys, don't close your eyes. Open your eyes. Open your eyes.
Oh my God.
So picture the most beautiful person that you have ever seen. Okay? All right, regroup. I know that was funny. I'm super funny. Okay. Picture the most beautiful person you've ever seen. Girls, a guy, like the most, like Zac Efron was my life. Orlando Bloom. So, I mean, like, drop dead gorgeous. And they're like, hey, come be with me. And you're like, oh, I have to say no to you. Like, you are so beautiful, but I love Jesus. Even though I'm really thinking about it like right now, like I'm looking, and like that is hard. Who's been there? Where like the most beautiful person has come to you and is like, hey, I want to be with you. And you're like, you know what, Jesus, I can't be with you. So Joseph literally is like, I can't be with you. But I mean, it was looking good. Like it was looking good. Everything was going great, smooth sailing, and then a relationship happens.
Oh, preach. Come on.
Okay?
Oh,
So everybody in here is 13 and up, and your main focus is a boy or a girl. Okay? That's not right. All right? It's going to get you in trouble. So if you are pursuing and creeping on a boy, it ain't good. All right, guys? If you're pursuing and creeping on a girl, it ain't good because it's not your time yet. So, okay. I don't know how much time I have. I'm not going to get to my main point. So, Joseph. Oh, I have 11 minutes. Man, okay. So Joseph is let me regroup. So he's got this pretty girl in front of him, and she's like trying to be with him, and he's like, no, resist the devil and he will flee. Like that's pretty much what he said. He was like, get out of my face, temptress. Like I love the Lord and he's blessing me. Get out of my life. And she gets mad. So what does she do? Who knows the story? Well, she lies. She lies. All right. How many people have ever been lied on? Easy. And you know, and you're like, even if it's with your parents and your brother or sister like tried to lie on you, and you're like, I didn't do it, but they don't believe you because you've lied in the past. But but they don't believe you. So like. So anyway, she lies on him, and she goes to her husband. Did you hear me? Her husband, her significant other, and she rips Joseph's clothes, and she takes it to her husband, and she's like, he tried to rape me. So he gets mad, and he throws him in prison. He's in prison. I wrote it down. 13 years. Let me find my notes. 13 years. He is back in the pit. for 13 years. Okay, he started out in the pit. His brothers threw him in there. He got bullied, kicked down at his lowest point. Gets way up here, God's blessing. Somebody tells a lie on him, and right back at the bottom. He's in a dark pit. Well, guess what? God still has favor on him. In his darkest moment, he still has favor. So he is giving him dreams. And he gives him the gift of interpretation of dreams. So, like, has anybody ever had a dream and you're like, what did that even mean? You wake up and you're confused. You're like, what was that? Was that too much pizza or was that the Lord talking? So, bad burrito. So, he gets in prison and he's hearing these other people talking. And they're talking about dreams that they had. Well, he's like, your dream means this, and your dream means that. Your dream means life, your dream means death. Well, sure enough, a couple years later, these two other guys get out of prison. So there goes his buddies. He's alone in prison now. And he's like, hey, you're getting out of prison, tell somebody about me. Tell them about my gift. Like, I helped you, now you help me. I don't know why I keep staring at you, Candace, because you're like I always find a spot on the wall, and you're just there. So, it was a baker, right? It was the baker? Okay, so the baker, the other guy dies. His story is just kind of, it ends. So the baker gets back in the palace, and Pharaoh has a dream. This is like 7 years later. So Pharaoh has a dream, and the baker overhears it. Nobody can interpret it. He's like bringing in all these ungodly people to interpret his dream, and it ain't working because he's not relying on who? God. So when you don't rely on God, nothing really works out. So that's a whole message in itself. So, but God uses Joseph, and that baker remembers. He's like, oh wow, okay, I gotta tell him about this guy that I met in jail. Like, now that sounds weird. First of all, like, hey, this guy I know in jail is a really good dream interpreter. Like, you should hook him up in the palace. He'll, interpret your dreams, and everybody will be honky dory. But like, who says that? Like, hey, I got a friend in jail that can help you out. Nobody wants to say that out loud. So, yeah. So, anyways, but he does. He works up the nerve. And he goes and he's like, hey, there's this guy in prison that interpreted my dream and it came true. And here I am, and he was right about everything. And so they pull him back out, and he remembers him, of course, because he's the one that put him there. And he pulls him back out. And so Joseph is helping him interpret his dream. So it was pretty much about 7 years of famine, 7 years of harvest, and then 7 years of famine. That's the right word.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyways, long story short, for my people who have never heard the Joseph story, so God again uses him. He used him in the pit. He used him in the darkest moment of his life, pulls him out of that dark moment, and continues to use him. Well, because his interpretation was on point, because it was right, what happened? Anybody? What happened to Joseph after that?
Second in command.
He got it second in command.
Promotion. Okay, so he was second in command. They put him in leadership of all the harvesting and then all the dishing out of the food. I don't really know how you would say that. But so he was over all of the fields, and he harvested, and he kept count, and he knew how much food there was. And then 7 years later, when there was no food left, he was there, and he was giving the people the food. That's a pretty big responsibility. He not only that, but then he got his own palace, like mansion, I guess, not really palace. He got a mansion, and with everything he ever wanted. But do you really think at the beginning of Joseph's story that he saw that for himself? No. What do you think that his dream was for himself when he was growing up? Before his brothers bullied him and before they threw him in the pit. When he was a kid, out in the fields, picking wheat. I don't know. Wheat. When he was out in the fields playing with the sheep and picking wheat, like, what do you think he was dreaming about? Do you think that he was dreaming about all of these horrible, tragic things that he went through? Because he was a dreamer. So he sat, who daydreams? We already went, who daydreams? Like, what do you daydream about? Do you daydream about your life, or do you daydream about a boy, or what do you daydream about? Do you daydream about how God is going to use you? So I need some feedback. What do you think that he was dreaming about as a young teenage boy about his life?
Being over his brothers.
Being over his brothers?
Beating up his brothers.
Beating up his brothers, okay? We know your dream. But what was Joseph's What was Joseph's dream? So it could be that. Or like bigger picture, like what do? You dream about meeting someone and getting married and having a life together. Maybe he wanted to be a sheep farmer forever. I don't know. And breed sheep. Like maybe he could not wait to get out of his dad's house so that he could be his own little farmer man. You never know. We won't ever know those answers. But the point is he was a dreamer. Okay? He wanted to have a purpose. He knew that he would have a purpose. But all of these horrible, tragic things, being bullied, being in his darkest moment, being lied on, all of these darkest moments could have easily defined his life. That could have defined him in the Bible as the dark pit Joseph. I don't know. He wasn't defined like that. He was defined as the dreamer. So he's dreaming big. No matter what happened in his life, he did not lose his focus. He knew that the Lord was going to use him and bless him. He didn't know how. And what God did for him far exceeded his dreams that he had for himself. And that is my point. Because it doesn't matter what you go through. Now the Spirit's going to get on me. But
Go ahead.
it doesn't matter what you go through at your very darkest moment. God still wants to bring you out and give you more than you ever dreamed. Ever. He did not dream that he was going to have a palace and be over a kingdom. He didn't ever have that dream when he was in the field. He was dreaming small. And so some of us are dreaming small for ourselves because we have our dreams instead of God's dream. And so we need to let go of our dreams and say, God, no matter if I can't see it, no matter if I have to be in my darkest moment, I'm going to live out your dream and not mine.
Yes.
That's really good. So, thank you, Jesus. But just remember, what did he go through? And I know that I keep repeating myself, but he went through so much. He was bullied. He was thrown in the darkest pit. He was sold into slavery. He was lied on. He was thrown in prison. 13 years. He was 30. He was in his 30s before God released him from the prison that he was in and used him and had favor on him in his kingdom. He was in his 30s. Now, I'm not saying you have to be 30 before God uses you. But I am saying you have to give God your dreams, and then he's going to multiply that. He's going to take it to a whole nother level that you can't even fathom. Because Joseph wasn't in the field dreaming about having his own palace. Okay? He didn't start out dreaming about being second in command in a kingdom. He went through so much to get where he was. And so the point behind all of this is don't let go. Don't give up. Don't let that person who is constantly bullying you get you so far down that you can't see God. Okay? Don't let, when somebody's lying on you, don't let that tear you so far down that you lose sight of what God has for you. All of those things built Joseph and got him ready for his purpose. So I don't know how much time I have left, but we're going to pray. And Yeah, y'all repeat after me. We can just pray as a group. Dear Lord,
Dear Lord,
I thank you for this story.
I thank you for this story.
I thank you for Joseph.
I thank you for Joseph.
I thank you for what you brought him through.
I thank you for what you brought him through.
And I thank you for placing it in my life
I thank you for placing it in my life
so that I can have something
so that I can have something
to look to.
to look to.
God,
God,
I ask you right now
I ask you right now
to help me
to help me
let go
let go
of the things
of the things
that I have held on to for so long.
that I have held on to for so long.
The hurt,
The hurt,
the brokenness,
the brokenness,
the pain,
the pain,
and the disappointment.
and the disappointment.
God, use me
God, use
just
me
like you used Joseph.
just like you used Joseph.
God, I thank you.
God, I thank
I
you.
praise you.
I praise you.
And I love you.
And I love you.
In Jesus' name.
In Jesus' name.
Amen.